Hello and welcome to day 2 of playoff week 1 of split 1 of the 2020 OPL. I am Nick Boy Richardson. That is far too many numbers to hear said in a row. I am joined by Spawn, Rusty, and Skimmy. Gentlemen, welcome back to the playoffs. And Spawn and Skimmy, welcome back to the show. We barely saw your faces yesterday.
Did you miss us?
It was a welcome change, Nick. I really enjoyed it. Just getting to sit back and cast some games of League of Legends, not to have to be on these segments.
Of course.
And what games of League of Legends we got to cast yesterday? They were actually super fun, and I'm so excited to see today's games purely based off the Chiefs' form that we saw yesterday.
Skimmy, you obviously were a part of all those games yesterday. What did you take away from Chiefs' form yesterday that excites you?
I mean, I think we just coined the term, right? It's angry gaming.
Is he not in the right channel?
He's definitely done something. So that's fine.
Can you hear me again now?
There he is.
Hey.
There we go. I think the stream could have heard me, but you guys couldn't. So there we go. You know, you always got to add something spicy to the mix. My point was going to be that angry gaming, really. That's really Chiefs' mantra. They came into it and it was just like, we actually hate you. And they were just killing everyone. And then Katsuri just comes in with the first pentakill and it's like, I am the king, bow down to me.
Your Honor, before we continue, I just want to point out to everyone that we use this software. I won't give you the software name, but it has different channels, right? And we have, a great PA that comes in and says, hey guys, you're about to go on air. Like, you should move into channel 6 because that's the on-air channel. And Nick goes, well, I've been here the whole time. And then Skimmy tries to also hit us with the humble brag of, I've just been in both channels, guys.
Yeah.
Neck a minute, show live. Skimmy not in both channel, guys. Skimmy in channel 5 still, guys. Off-air channel. Thanks for that, Skimmy. Really well played, mate.
Oh, we've always got to spice things. We've always got to get at least one person at the start show, get all that out of the way, and then we can crack on with some good games, eh?
The only disappointing thing that's happened so far is that all the furniture in Rusty's room is the correct way up.
Yeah, and the shirt strobing, Nick. If you want to talk about what's really disappointing, I'm actually quite annoyed at this shirt right now, looking at it on camera. It didn't last time. And
Well,
that
look,
the background.
We're just full of problems today. Oh, look, in the full screen, it's much better. It's
That's
when you
fine.
just
We
put
just
it on
need
a
to
smaller screen, it gets
stay full
compressed, the
screen,
strobing
yeah.
happens. We'll just stay on full screen Rusty the entire time. You guys don't need to see the games, you just need to see the shirts. Of course you want to see the games, because even though we've only got one series today, that series is Chiefs versus Legacy. This is basically the OPL Grand Final. At least I assume. Shout out if you think that that there is a contender, as long as you're not the GM of Order.
No, even I would say at this stage of the season, if Chiefs and Legacy play their best League of Legends, it is the expected grand final. No one else in the league has a winning record against either of these two teams. They were neck and neck for first and second. Obviously, the reason we play the games is upsets can happen, but this is the winner's bracket final for a reason. The winner will advance to the grand final and have that additional game off as well. So you definitely got to say at the moment, these are the two most informed teams in the OPL, especially after what we saw from Direwolves yesterday.
Right? This is the first time we've had this format as well, right, Spawn? So, getting the opportunity to see Chiefs versus Legacy at a playoffs best of 5 before the final is one of the very few times we've had that in OPL history, and that makes this even better.
And so obviously Legacy have not played in the playoffs yet, but we saw Chiefs yesterday. Rusty, what is it that Legacy could have taken away from the Chiefs games that they saw yesterday to prepare, or is there something that they saw that could have scared them?
Also, first of all, they only really had one game as a sample size of like a way to take down the Chiefs. I think what was interesting from that game, though, and this is something that I've just universally thought should exist perhaps even more in the OPL, was early game or like level 1 strategies. Something as simple as a late invade can throw an entire strategic plan out the window. And it was surprising to me that through this split, even for like the 7th and 8th place teams, we saw very little of that. And I would continuously say that like it's true that if the Chiefs fall behind, they tend to rely on Croc. But last set, like yesterday, showed me that that's not as entirely true anymore, and they're starting to draft carries again for Claire. So I honestly take away, they're a scary team, and you just have to be better on the day.
That feels about right. Chiefs are a very scary team. Spawn, who are you picking to take out the series tonight?
I think that, it would be unfair to just take recency into account. And the last time we saw these teams play, Legacy smacked the Chiefs. I would actually say this should be a pretty handed Legacy victory. I think they're the best team in the OPL so far. Obviously, I have a little bit more information from behind the scenes that I'll try not to give away. But they're a really scary team at the moment. And one of the reasons I like the Legacy lineup over the Chiefs is they have some of the best of 5 players in the OPL. Tally is absolutely clutch. Raze is a big best of 5 player as well. So I think that this team has experience in all the right areas. They've got people that have won an OPL title before. They've got people that have been to multiple finals. And I don't think that the Chiefs, in their first best of 5 against a veteran team like that, will be able to go toe-to-toe. But I think that this is a really valuable best of 5 for Chiefs if they are going to run it back in that grand final and have a serious shot of winning the whole thing. I think actually the Chiefs might want to lose this, because the additional best of 5 for all their young players is actually really valuable in my opinion. Obviously, no one wants to lose. You just want to win everything. Like, just win everything, guys. It's that simple. But best of 5s are so much different to normal. And also, CL needs more best of 5 drafting experience, because some of his drafts yesterday, the gameplay was good, but the drafts were a little bit stinky in some areas. Nick, let me tell you that.
Rusty, who are you tipping?
I'd be tipping Legacy as well. I mean, recency taken into account for the way Legacy were playing in their last weeks, it felt like they had a point to prove. They were dominant, and they honestly, I would be shocked if that didn't continue through with, like Spawn mentioned, the veterancy of the players on that roster.
And Skimmy, you're going to be doing most of the talking for most of the evening. Who are you most excited to see, and who do you think is going to take it out?
I'm really excited for the Raze Katsuri matchup in particular. We talk about Chiefs having this foundation of just star members in that lane, right? And Raze has always been that consistency, that factor of you can really rely on. And it was quite apparent, especially when Eminez left the roster. After Katsuri sort of popped off yesterday, you're really hoping he's in that hot form to make that matchup in particular very exciting. Not only from a laning phase, but also just when it comes to team fights as well, if they can really use them as a beacon of hope. I obviously have to go for Legacy as well. One factor being that I live with Carbon, so I'd probably get evicted if he said otherwise, and I'd probably go back to New Zealand, and that wouldn't be fun. But based on how they've been performing recently, especially with that 25-minute slapping in the final week 10.
And as Spawn alluded to earlier, this whoever loses tonight, this is not the last time we're going to see them. They're going to head down into the losers bracket, which is a very unfortunate name, but let's call a spade a spade. And they're going to play off against the winner of Order versus Direwolves, if my math is correct, and it is. How exciting. As Spawn said, potentially a practice run here. It's a bit of a tainted chalice, I guess, poison chalice to lose and then be able to get in some more practice. But, you take it where you can, and some of these younger players might benefit from that. Order certainly are beginning their gauntlet run, as we are well aware of. We're well accustomed to this. So things are all shaping up the way that they should here on the OPL. You've got Chiefs up there, except for the last couple of splits. Legacy are involved as well, and Order doing that thing where they just suddenly get good. We're excited to be here for the rest of the night with you guys. I think we're all hoping for 5. We want 5 games, right? We want 5 games.
Yeah, absolutely.
For this. We want a slugfest. They should be 70-minute games each.
Do you know who really wants 5 games?
Huh?
Order and Direwolves. Order and Direwolves both really need 5 games, because I feel like there isn't enough game footage of Chiefs and Legacy playing against good teams where they actually have to do anything strategically complex. Like, even yesterday, there was nothing strategically complex about the way that the Chiefs beat Direwolves. So it's actually really hard to play against these teams because if they never get pushed outside of, hey, we came out of landing phase with a 5,000 gold lead and then we rolled you in every team fight, which generally is how both of these teams play, it can be quite complex. So I'm hoping for a really good series to actually be able to see what these teams at their best look like.
Yeah, we're hoping for that, and also every other team is hoping for that just so that they can get some cheat sheets on these two teams. But it's enough stalling. Let's get into game number one. It's Chiefs versus Legacy, and it is the Macca's Champ Select.
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.
Well, here we go, Rusty. It is the very first game of the day between these two absolute titans in the region. Chiefs taking on Legacy. It's not do or die because you will have that chance to go for the lower bracket, but whoever is the victor today will secure themselves a spot in that grand final.
Yeah, very big game here for both of these teams. It is the winners bracket final. It's exciting because not only is that the case, it's first versus second. They played each other 3 times. It was a 2-1 record. There was some close games in there. We get to see this potentially twice. If they are the best teams in our league, this is the first best of 5, and then they meet again in the finals and they get to play again. And that's amazing. The more opportunities that you get to watch the 2 best teams play each other, the better for the league.
Absolutely. And what's interesting already right off the bat is that Chiefs have got blue side and they've gone for that insta-pick on towards the Ornn. Now, this is something that actually happened yesterday. They got blue side 3 out of the 4 games when they went up against Direwolves. Very comfortable in that position and obviously very comfortable with that champion as well. Now, the bans have come out, Syndra, Callista and Jarvan. So a bit of a hybrid around the mix. We've seen Raze actually play the Syndra in their very last outing. Definitely a pick that they can flex in many directions, but they had a bit of a priority in Week 10 to deny the likes of Wukong as well as the Yuumi, and that's why now we're going to see Yuumi come in as a first pick and a reworked 10.7 Galio.
Yeah, Galio's kind of in a spot where the change you want to say is small. I'm going to stop moving because I'm actually just causing a disco in my camera, so I'm just going to lean forwards. Sorry, it's really it's hard to concentrate.
You've got too much eye candy going on. They're going to distract you from the draft.
Yeah, Galio locked in a little bit more tanky for the rest of the team, right? Applies the W passive shield when the ultimate lands for 5 whole seconds. That's not an insignificant amount of time. So they're going to lock that one in very early. It looks like it's a blind pick. You don't know what the rest of the composition is going to be, but what we do know is that the Jarvan is already banned away. So you're looking at other champions that can complement that Galio to round out through maybe the jungle or top lane positions here from Legacy's side. But first things first, they've got the Yuumi, so they need to pick their bot lane.
Yep, that they do, and they've obviously secured it now with the Aphelios, so you're looking at a fair bit of damage, some follow-up to the taunts that can come out here from their Galio. We had to look towards how Chiefs want to deny that. They've gone for, once again, the Varus Time Kench, which they found a lot of success with. Katsuri, quite honestly, smurfing with some of those chain of corruptions that he was landing and able to find incredible value, especially if teams are piling up. So they're going to have a lot of safety, and obviously compliments to Korea CK on the back of that as well. The man was playing out of his mind to allow him to find so much prio in that laning phase.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs was a bot lane possessed in their last best of 5 against the Direwolves yesterday, so it's going to be very exciting to watch them go against the likes of Raze and Isles, who can be a bit more of that wild card. And we saw this yesterday. It was Cupcake playing. He saw the tub catch, and the opportunity for Bard did arise. And it's interesting this time that Legacy, who have been the just criminal Bard players in the last week of the OPL, chose for the early Yuumi rotation. So their priorities didn't go into the hard counter of the bot lane. I think they're just looking to, it's a decent lane. A Tahm Kench lane's never going to outright murder you if your jungler is playing towards bot side at all to help reset waves. They might actually be able to pick a wildcard solo lane champion here. And that may be what we see from Legacy, depending on where their priorities lie. Is it jungler or is it top?
It's going to be interesting
Boom.
because we're seeing a fair priority go towards limiting what BaByt is going to be allowed to play. He's hovering the Lee Sin right now, which is a pick he's found good success with as well. Would, I suppose, cater them towards having the pick potential, obviously with what Lee Sin can offer. But what's heads up and exciting for me is how Legacy have denied away the Karma as well as the Akali. Obviously, these were two picks that saw a lot of love and success as well, actually, from the Chiefs yesterday. And the Karma in particular found a lot of priority in the drafting phase.
And the Ornn can flex, which is why both of those champions were banned away from each solo laner apiece. Now, you wait to see what the Chiefs will reveal. It'll be both solo laners at once that have to be spotted here. If it's a Corki locked in, you would expect once again that it will be the Ornn going to top lane for Tien. That Karma ban is a good one, because at the moment it felt like Claire was going an Assassin or a Karma style champion yesterday, and now forced into something a bit more standard at the very least. And it seems like Tally may be able to see that matchup and pick the counter in there if they would like. Galio already decent into that, just being a magic soaking champion. That's different.
That is very different. I was looking at the Rek'Sai hover and I was thinking, okay, here's an idea. You know, this is something they can look to try and pick and chase around, keep tabs on where BaByt may be. It obviously found a lot of success yesterday, but the Xin Zhao going to give you some fantastic initiation and dive potential.
Yeah, removes a lot of the damage from Aphelios, but not the rest of the team. When you think about Xin Zhao, you do think about aggressive early jungler, likes to gank, likes to invade in the jungle, maybe find those 1v1s if they can. And then when it comes to team fighting, you tend to pick the target and you ult everyone else away. But against Legacy's comp, that's easier said than done, right? They've got a lot of mobility, they've got a lot of melee champions, and they've got a lot of dive. So the Xin Zhao's purpose with that ult is less about standing in the front line and being a super tank, more so about just putting the damage out and stopping the Aphelios. And that may be something that is fairly consistent here actually through a lot of the Chiefs' composition, that they just have some frontline soaking champions to stop Raze from dealing damage. Then they've got the Tahm Kench to protect someone that gets caught, while their carries try and deal that front-to-back team fighting themselves. And that's what I would expect to see at the very least from the likes of Chiefs after their draft.
What's exciting to me is that they present so many different threats from afar, and it's going to really cut the work rate, right? It's going to really make the likes of the Galio, Lee Sin, and Aatrox so much harder as to, do we go for the peel? Do we go for the initiation? Do we look to try and stack up our CC together and make things work? Because Chiefs present multiple threats on many different fronts here.
Yeah, for sure. They've got, once again, a similar style of jungler, very aggressive early game jungler in the Lee Sin against that Xin Zhao. Galio has a lot of kill threat, particularly from level 6, because you can influence the rest of the map brilliantly. So you're looking at someone like Raze or Topoon even on their bottom and top sides of the map to generate kill threat themselves, just when Tally has lane priority. So that's what you expect from Legacy side, if you asked me, is probably BaByt being active on the map, and then at a certain point, he just ensures that Tally has freedom of movement from his lane so that they can make map plays elsewhere.
Well, let's jump into Summoner's Rift for the very first game of the day. It's only one best of 5, and boy, is it a big one. Legacy taking on Chiefs. The victor here today will get themselves a spot in the grand finals. The loser today will be put into the losers bracket for a chance at the gauntlet run. It's a big one. It's a massive one, and we're straight into the Rift with some very interesting drafts here, Rusty. I'm very curious to see how the Xin Zhao finds value, because it's Croc, after all.
Yeah, the Yuumi would have been nice on the Xin Zhao side if you were a Croc in this case, but yeah, it's Croc, it's the carry player of the Chiefs. If all's said and done, if the Chiefs fall behind, it does always feel like they have Croc to back up on. But now he is playing that type of champion, not like a Lee Sin, right? Like, he still needs to get ahead early, and Lee Sin can do that, but you can also play for that one kick. Xin Zhao functions very differently in not that you're as aggressive a playmaker. You still deal the damage, but you have to actually still be standing in front of a team, where Lee Sin can do it himself. So that style shift there from Croc will have to continue to explore. And Claire, not going to be playing the Karma control mage, not going to be playing the Ornn set up for the rest of his team, is going to actually have to be the carry here in a lane where he's against a melee champion and may be able to be farming freely to that carry stage.
That he will. And we're going to see that both junglers are starting on the top side of the map. So we'll be pathing down bot side, and that seems to be where we found most of the influence. That's what we highlighted during the pre-game show, during the lessons, I suppose, of what we discovered. Was a strength here for the Chiefs, and how they were able to find that massive lead from the laning phase alone. Now, obviously, we've seen it be a much closer affair when these two teams have taken to it, but I'm really excited to see, the matchup between, Raze and Katsuri. Raze obviously so consistent, so strong, but if Katsuri, if he's at a great sleep, if he's all rested, recovered, and prepared for this one, it's really game on.
You know who did have a great sleep? It was Tia, and he was in bed at normal gamer hours this time.
I saw that tweet.
Raring to go for this game of the OPL. Nevertheless, you mentioned bottom lane. I do think this best of 5 may be a part in determining who the best AD carry in our league is. Because right now, I would say these are the top 2. Katsuri has been in ridiculously good form. Vital has been in that conversation, and you'd say is in that top 3 to round it out. But I think this best of 5 helps to determine who number 1 is.
And I think it's interesting, right, when we compare these two teams and we've said, look, what is the best way to try and take down the Chiefs? Well, you should play a little bit slower, maybe try and bore them to death, as Spawn's coined it. But, that's not to discount Legacy as a macro boring side. They've definitely got incredibly strong team fighting ability.
Yeah, no one team has a strict advantage draft-wise for that team fighting ability either here. That's what's so interesting about this. The style clash between Chiefs and Legacy. Chiefs are always going to take those skill checks. It's something that we speak about to no end. They do like to have their individual lane strengths and translate that into team fighting prowess. And if they get the slightest advantage, that carries through. They like that momentum and build up very successfully. Legacy are a little bit different. They feel like a more cohesive 5-man unit at all times. Their plays do seem to be like Topoons with a big teleport more often than not is going to be an instigator, or if Isles is playing the Bard, then he goes to Topoon's lane. Things like that happen as a group more often. That late game team fighting still going to be a big deal with Raze sitting in a roster as well. They've almost won games from just him alone in those team fights. So the fact that the styles of these drafts are quite similar, but the styles of the teams are not, makes this game wonderful to watch.
Absolutely, and we're going to see a fantastic trade go out, favoured Legacy side. As you see Raze take a fair bit of damage, but will obviously have the Yuumi to top himself up. It's going to be interesting to see where the priority goes to. We've seen both Scuttles already achieve so far with, for the most part, Croc hanging towards the bot side of the map, maybe keeping his eyes firmly fixated on getting him online. Babip always hanging in the area, and they may cross paths right now. Trouble goes down, the recall will complete.
You should be aware that that was a recall as well. You could see the ward just above Croc there to the right. Most likely would have walked out that way, given that his mid lane has no priority. So they should assume that he's gone back to base. Croc now gets an opportunity, completely invisible to the enemy team, except for when he was just spotted with that ward as to where he is. You'll watch top lane have to be careful. Mid lane fresh off a reset. Nowhere to go, unfortunately, for him, except for towards the Drake. And so my eyes shift that direction. Is that something that's going to be looked at early here from the Xin Zhao? It's certainly possible.
It certainly would be, as both junglers have gone back from a fresh shot, and they now have that tier 1 jungle item complete, so clear time's a little bit better. Ganking options potentially open. We're going to see pings go out as the control will start to go down, establishing some control of where people could be at and what the play may be. You see both junglers complete their camps and now start to hover around that bottom side. Another Scuttle will spawn. The first Mountain Drake is available.
Yeah, waiting to see that real first big defining move of this best of 5. Who wants to take that first step? Who wants to gank? These aggressive jungle champions not really finding their mark at the moment for ganks. They have found each other, however, to be able to be more of a preventative measure for their own team's success. Still waiting for that Drake as well, like you mentioned. It is a point of contention. I think that you're looking at mid lane priority as one of the bigger factors for that. You could choose to wait for something like the package timing for Corki once his passive's up to force these objectives, or you can use the priority that you're consistently getting now to try and force it earlier. The risk is that Legacy, obviously aware of this, would be there to respond, and so they're going to err to the side of caution right now.
Yeah, it was looking promising. As you say, mid lane was getting pushed in and bot lane just got completed too. Scuttle achieved. They had the vision around to dictate if they decide to make things happen in that river, but as you say, caution is the play. Xin Zhao may now be looking for a potential gank. He's been keeping around this bottom side of the map for a fair few minutes now. May just look to start things off now as Lee Sin's gone back off a fresh recall again and is sitting topside.
We passed that level 6 point as well here for the solo laners of Legacy and Chief, so that Galio now can be very active around the Rift, use that ultimate and get into the heroic entrance, something like that. What's it called, Skibby? Is it Grand Entrance? Heroic Entrance?
For Galio, it's called Hero's Entrance.
Hero's Entrance. He has that. He has his R button. Analysts don't use names.
No, neither do I. I just make up things that sound like you understand what I'm talking about.
I'm
sure you've noticed that.
I was talking to Jules about this yesterday as well, because he's been co-streaming alongside the OPL for most of the split. And he's like, names are important when you're casting, and that never occurred to him. Because we both came from being players. And like, why would I say the name of the spell when I'm communicating to my team when I could just say Q? Because that's always going to be faster. It doesn't matter what the spell's called.
It's interesting though, right? Because there are so many times when you're casting and just adding in the actual spell name, it just sounds forced, doesn't always roll off the tongue as easy. But yeah, if you just chuck in QWER, everyone knows what you're referring to when it comes to that. So it's very case by case, the nuances really of the casting here.
Just means the brain's still trying to catch up.
So something has happened from an objective standpoint. Still waiting for that fight. And I think this is kind of what we expect really out of a game one, right? It's no longer a best of one. It's a best of 5. We're kind of seeing what we had when Avan and Order took on each other. A very slow start.
Yeah, Chiefs didn't really have any playstyle issues yesterday, so it feels like this game 1 is about testing the waters versus your opponents. It could be considered a form check. And, letting a game just go to a 5v5 team fight is definitely one way to accurately test your team, your opponent's ability to team fight and their nerves on the day. But it does also leave a game open, to like being a one-punch victory. If you don't do anything when you have opportunities and your opponents win that one team fight, then you kind of throw away a game from that single moment. So the risk increases with every passing minute where you don't make plays. But I guess that's the one major difference here between Chiefs and Legacy is we know what one team has been doing as they performed yesterday. Yeah. So we still need to really look at Legacy in comparison.
Will be interesting to see what Legacy, I suppose, studied up or took from that VOD review, having seen how Chiefs performed yesterday. As it stands right now, we're obviously neck and neck with a small lead here being achieved by Tapoon's Aatrox, up by 10. But once again, Chiefs are finding the priority in that lane to be the first responder to try and look at those neutral objectives. They are topside, and Croc once again is in the right place at the right time to consider going for a Herald.
Babip should be able to find him though. He's just at the Herald right now, sitting in Tri-Bush, perhaps waiting for a unsuspecting bottom laner to come and find him, but they'll just rotate straight to the Herald themselves. Will this be contested? You don't have priority in mid lane just yet. Topoon's already moving up, however, if he can get there in time. He may just be able to do so. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be contested. Teleport's forced.
Tapoon hangs onto this one, but Tien gets greedy in the bot lane so it doesn't get lost underneath the tower. Herald will be achieved here right now as Yubi goes in big. Hero's Entrance coming on down, shields up for the boys. First blood achieved here by Babip, raising incredibly low, and same for Lee Sin too, but he gets the shield. Yumi coming in clutch, the Graviton from afar, and the kick to make it a double. A great start here for Legacy, and a double for Aatrox as well. And we may be looking at a 10-minute ace. The final nail in the coffin would have been Neon, but he manages to disengage away. And Legacy punish.
Yeah, they pick their moment perfectly here, Legacy. They see the Herald being done. They bring Topoon up to the fight. They don't even need to teleport him in. First of all, they force a teleport out of TN as they frantically try and get together and respond. Claire uses his package effectively just to int in that fight as well and deal some damage for his team and try and separate Legacy as they'd already hit the mark and started the fight very convincingly and very aggressively here, and it's wildly successful.
Wildly successful it is, and Tapoon's is going to snowball at lead even further as a result by now getting some turret plates to his name, and as you mentioned, hangs on to the teleport. Such a crucial ability for him to be able to use. Obviously, the Ornn has the unsealed spellbook, so can obviously rotate between a fair few options there, but it could be interesting to keep your eyes on Tapoon as to how he actually utilizes that advantage to keep the map split and really deny Chiefs from finding those 5v5 team fights we know they're so damn proficient at.
Yeah, while TN has the Unsealed Spellbook and has the Ignite now, is against the 2-0 Aatrox, so the kill threat's pretty low. Babip actually starts this fight off by kicking Katsuri, who gets devoured by Korea CK. And as we watch the rest of this fight, just note the interaction of a Lee Sin kicking someone that Tahm Kench eats. The Tahm Kench actually gets knocked up. So they were both stuck. And that's in the middle of a Legacy's mid laner here, Galio's ultimate, knocking them all up and then taunting them afterwards. So the combo, even if you save your AD carry, still connects, and Legacy gets the team fight.
So rough there if you saw, Rusty, that Croc actually failed his flash over. You saw those two members in both Raze and Babbitt incredibly low. Lethal range for sure. Failed the flash and then receives a taunt afterwards. So we could have seen a potentially much more favourable trade there.
So Babbitt hovering mid lane there, using the Q on the minion to try and push Corki away. And it was close. Topu now going to have to ult.
Yeah, it's going to be a 2v1 situation. No support is coming for this situation right now. He will be shut down, but Legacy find a moment in the mid lane. The Graviton comes out, that damage to follow. And Tally is now on the score sheet with a kill of his own.
Yeah, almost within seconds, Legacy are there to trade back in mid lane. Max range Aphelios ultimate to find the kills. The trade's still going to be very costly on the top side of the map because the plates were already being hit before this Drake got started. And it's a Xin Zhao who does a decent amount of damage. But they will at least get back this objective. The steal attempt was nice, but they will lose a whole turret for it. So significant gold boost back into the pockets of the Chiefs, and that equalizes the gold.
That it does. A Dragon is traded out there for a turret, so objective for objective. Always trades being found here.
Yeah, and you can see the flash from Claire. Unfortunately not going to get him out of the Gravitum. Aphelios ultimate locks him down. Very easy kill there with a Galio as your mid laner, channeling that taunt.
They give you so much protection to ensure the kill. Obviously with the Proto belt now completed for the Galio, the mobility to obviously add to his E already. Now they turn their attention to the bottom side.
Teleports in.
Double teleports coming out. This is going to be a full 5-man collapse here. They want to destroy this bottom lane. You are not allowed to find the form that you had yesterday. The teleport coming in from Claire as well. He drops the package around. He is trying to keep this turret healthy, and it is. Only one casualty is suffered. But Legacy definitely letting know that we are not scared here.
Yeah, hunting those opportunities, Legacy, 100% trying to find whatever they can, but the kills, while they still go across, it's only the one because Croc gets there. You know, they're able to deter them in time, and it's hard. You know, even if you're ahead to dive some of the champions on the enemy team, Tahm Kench makes everything a nightmare, trying to be aggressive and diving, and that turret damage does start to add up. They'll disengage, they'll reset, they'll get some wave clear before they get their extra item purchases, but Legacy, you can really feel it. Even though the gold, reasonably close, they've got that momentum on their side. They're starting to really feel it and be more aggressive across the board.
You can see that with some of the item spikes they now have in their possession. Aatrox with a completed Black Cleaver and a Warfield as well, so he's got a fair chunk of CDR now. Athene's completed by the Yuumi. It's going to be very important to make the likes of Babbitt and Raze protected. Sustain's going to be incredibly strong before those healing cut items start to come online.
And we really have just traded objectives across the board through the start of this game. The one major advantage was, of course, the Herald that you saw going into top lane, but the cost of that was many kills given over to the enemy team. One Drake apiece. Surprisingly, even when you look at the 6-1 kill scoreline. But that's why that big map play with Herald equalizing everything. And now we find ourselves 15-odd minutes into this one, waiting for that next big objective that may actually be, we said earlier, it could just be a one-team fight game. But it turns out the response, even in a lost team fight, was so well done from the Chiefs that it's definitely not.
That is not, absolutely. And you're seeing that, you know, despite Chiefs being behind in kills at the moment, they are able to find love in their own individual matchups, right? They're slightly ahead in some of the CS, and a lot of that comes to the fact that they have not been forcing those 5-man groups like Legacy have. They've been the ones in the driving seat with a game plan and finding picks, always finding trades, always finding advantages as we wait for this next Rift Herald, which, as you can see now on your screen, has been started by Croc. But will potentially be in the area at the right time to look for a contest as the solo laners start to rotate from bottom lane.
Yeah, we'll see if they hard commit to contest this. Galio obviously will always be in range with his ultimate while he's sitting in top lane farming. You've got the Yuumi on top of the Lee Sin as he now disengages to get the ward off. The contest not going to be seen at all. It is just going to be another Herald given over to the Chiefs. The response is some pressure in mid lane, but I don't think they'll be able to get the turret with a Corki being able to throw rockets onto it. And Tahm Kench, like you can see, having that ultimate to get there. Big win there for Chiefs as far as objectives are concerned.
That it is, and they obviously don't fall victim to a rotation from the Rift Herald into mid lane. Abyssal Void used there as a security. Legacy continue to mount up the pressure here in the mid lane. A lot of the CS now being donated across to Raze. And he's going to be definitely packing a punch here. Obviously, the Infinity Edge doing wonders compared to a Bladed Ring.
Yeah, we're looking at those item spikes, and there's actually the Executioner's calling for Croc pretty much rushed here after his jungle item, and I like that. Right now, a lot of the other champions on his team are so item reliant. You've got what is the Manamune Corki. It's the new hot thing. Corki's AD that he gets from the Manamune when it's charged is more than an Infinity Edge relative worth amounts, and then you have the IE with it, so your crits are obviously extremely significant. So that takes time, and you can't afford to go for something like an Executioner's Calling in that build if you're so item reliant. Similar thing for rushing that Blade of the Ruined King from Katsuri, and top lane it's an Ornns. Obviously you want to have your 2 items as fast as you can. Maybe you go for the Bramble Vest in there, but the Yumi's the problem more than the Aatrox early. I think he'll start to build that after he finishes the Abyssal Mask, and I mean that helps the Chiefs a lot. It's about tiding them over to where all of their champions can either get it or their team fighting is strong. He keeps them strong in the meanwhile, in the interim, basically filling the role of Xin Zhao through items.
Absolutely, it really fulfills what the purpose, I suppose, of the Xin Zhao is to find a target and to make sure that they die. Because of all the healing that is available on this Legacy roster, would make that a lot harder if the healing cut was not there. Now, what is interesting to note is Rift Herald was summoned in the top lane, trying to actually grab the attention of Legacy to respond. They say, that's cool, you can go for that play, we're just going to pick up a dragon. So once again, still 18 minutes into this game, trades continue to happen as teams wait for those power spikes before we see that potential team fight again.
We are hitting those 1 item spikes, though, you know, if they were going to start looking for their fights. And I think what we should look at and really contrast it between these teams is how they team fight or play the game out as the game progresses. Because the one major difference is in that mid lane. You've got an AD carry style champion in Corki, you know, can mid to long range poke you, and his all-in is very significant with packages, versus a Galio who only really has the all-in as his predominant feature, and is going the full AP build. So he will have significant damage and decent wave clear if they do sit themselves in a 1-3-1, or if Chiefs do and they respond. But if you want to win the game as Legacy, that Galio will be team fighting, you know, and I don't think that's as necessary for the Chiefs. They can start to pick apart this map, you know, piece by piece, and try and build some leads in that respect, where Legacy will try and pick their moments around these objectives. So I think getting that second Drake was crucial for Legacy, you know, to start threatening that soul point. It's an Ocean Soul as well, so the contest will have to be there. And maybe that's where their comp can thrive the most and, you know, get those 5v5s.
It has been interesting to note how Legacy have been disciplined in some of these games where they've been willing to sacrifice, say, the first 2 dragons, whereas in other games they've been very content in trading, say, turrets, structures, or Rift Heralds to build up that as a win condition. Obviously, on this map here, Ocean incredibly strong, and we'll just further accentuate what this Legacy roster has already online. So we look to really see what happens now that the Galio has the Zhonya's online. All-in capability will buy him so much more time than it already achieves.
And there's just an absurd amount of hard farming that you're seeing from both mid laners right now. Claire with his packages going and showing very deep in topside. He's going to take the Krugs away just because he's so safe with the package there. All about getting to that second item as fast as possible. And he's not the only one that feels like that. You know, you've already got your 2 items for TN, so he's almost fighting fit completely. 1 more level, and he is outright ridiculous. And I think this wave might actually just be his level 13, so getting ever closer to that mark. It should be. He'll tick over after that cannon. There it is. And now he's got his items upgraded. If ever there was a time for the Chiefs, that Trinity Force may be the last thing that they're really looking for.
Yeah. That's what you'd imagine. Muramana has now just completed, so that's another spike, but imagine they really want to, if possible, look to get that Ginsu's online, look to get that Trinity Force on, and then look to contest with the next dragon up in 2 minutes. Obviously, Baron is available. But a stopwatch had to be burnt there, however, by Korea CK, just to make sure that he did not fall victim in the mid lane. It does feel like a little bit of a waste.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're going for the Gargoyle Stoneplate, there has to be a time to use the stopwatch, and it's weird to say that like that was a wasted use potentially, but he's got the item upgrade anyway now, so who cares?
Yeah.
We are still waiting for the objective-based fights, and any opportunity to give a pick over, you don't want to let that happen. So he denies it with the stopwatch, and he's fine.
Better safe than sorry. Still 6 kills to 1. A lot of that on the very early, nearly full-on ace. It was a quad kill achieved by Legacy as they traded out here for the Rift Herald that the Chiefs were able to achieve. So they found a lot of pressure in this top lane. Two structures have been deleted, so they've set themselves up for, well, if you're going to go for the Ocean Soul, we've always got that backdoor condition to look to pressure an inhibitor, draw your attention away. If you try and do a dance around that dragon, you're going to have to send somebody out there to respond.
And lane assignments are important in that regard. You know, if Galio's top lane, the fight happens at Drake, he can't successfully ult to the pit. Like, he'd need to teleport before he ults. And so they do need to be super careful here with how they assign themselves around the map. Just because, you know, distance to objectives needs to be considered. They've currently got Galio still committing to that push top lane. It's fine. He's going to push the wave in and start to leave now because they have time. But if he did stay there, Chiefs start to get a bit more priority around that Drake.
Can't imagine it would feel as good to have to use the teleport to come down as opposed to the ultimate.
Well, it's about time, Skibby, you know? Like, it's the whole channel of the teleport before the channel of the ultimate. And that's just, like, not acceptable for a Galio in a team fight, right?
Absolutely not. You're out of the game for half the team fight. Regardless, Chain of Corruptions does come out. He survives for the meantime, the team spread away, but now they look to re-engage in that shrub. The fight comes with a Moonlight Vigil landing on top of many members. Raze is incredibly protected in the backline there, no threat on towards him. Out comes the Zinzao with the Crescent Guard. He looks to try and do whatever he can, but he's incredibly low. He chucks out the spear, and he's unable to find the kill. Everything lights up Legacy. Nobody falls on down. A triple kill achieved as they can look to pick up another dragon.
And that's two back-to-back significant teamfight victories for Legacy. They have absolute control of this game as a result of that. They're running straight to the Baron buff itself, and it was Chiefs that threw the first punch, Skimmy. It was Chiefs that said we want to win this teamfight with an Ornn ultimate summoned, and the immediate response, Katsuri in a whole world of hurt here as well. He dies.
So much.
And the Baron goes, and potentially mid lane outer turret. That's just the absolute collapse of the Chiefs roster all at once.
Raze there with the cheeky flair to his old days. Out with the Chiefs of mode. But Legacy are just going to take everything. You win a team fight, you catch a pick in mid lane, you get the Baron, and now you set yourself up for Soul Point. The fight just went so good. And you're looking at those two item spikes for the likes of Claire and Katsuri, and just wasn't able to achieve anything there.
Against a team like Legacy, if you throw the first punch, it has to connect. And that's the problem. That team fight, they didn't connect on their engage, and the response comes through emphatically from their opponents, and they never look like they're going to lose it. And we saw that in the first fight of the day already.
We look to see how this all started off with Katsuri looking for the Chain of Corruption, but
and
what's the discipline
Raze?
for them to disengage.
Just watch Raze, though, in response. They all dissipate. The ultimate connects. It hits multiple members. Significant damage with the flamethrower as well. Lee Sin kicks Croc in. And you speak about this through the draft. You know, what is it that Zinzao actually provides to this team? And it's just preventing Aphelios from dealing damage, but he'd already done his job with the ultimate anyway. And then Babbitt kicks him in to secure a kill. So easy there from Legacy on the execute.
By the time he jumped in there to isolate out that target, he was down to 20 health and forced to disengage away. It's another convincing team fight here as you start to look at those Aphelios items ramp on up. Every single time I see the Ruden's Hurricane online, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to happen. We're going to start to see those crazy moments of quadra kills just achieved for free from a distance where you think, how on earth is this balanced?
Yeah, it's an absurd champion. Of course, right now he's got his best team fighting items. He's just switched over to the one that you dread the most when he's got the Hurricane completed, however. If he's able to hit the mark with one of those marksman Qs, suddenly everybody's copping the Gravitum. And suddenly everybody's rooted in place and he ults you, and then from 2,000 units away, he's just won a team fight, 1v5. Welcome to Aphelios.
Welcome to Aphelios, indeed. Now, they look to try and push out bottom lane, but as it's going to take a bit of time to push out mid, they want to try and match that wave. So they're going to leave Aatrox there for the meantime. The rest of the team are going to respond by taking out that T2. And they can look to potentially utilize this Baron buff to get an inhibitor. And they're not going to look to try and take any major risk here, you imagine, Rusty. Up by 6k gold. I mean, they have a win condition in sight for their next Ocean's Dragon, but Chiefs really need to look to try and force a fight to get some of the shutdown gold online for them.
Yeah, they just want to harass, though. If you just post up in the lane, you've got Raze and Yuumi all Babbitt caught.
That's what they're after, and that's what they'll find. Tien gets a shutdown, and the jungler is the leader, but Tapoon on the flank with a massive free-man knock-up. Out comes Galio, but it won't achieve anything. Now they're stuck in an awkward situation across the wall, but that won't stop Tapoon. He jumps in to the middle of the fight. Disengages the members, draws them into a choke spot, and Aphelios does what he can from afar. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but it will be all she wrote, allowing Legacy to walk on through and take down an inhibitor.
Yeah, we've hit that critical mass point for Yumi's strength with the rest of the team. They're going to break one inhib. They're going to go for the second as well. Croc fighting.
He is indeed, but it won't be for anything because he's just going to fall on down. They jump, juke, and jive. Oh, a beautiful cleanser flash ensures that Ray stays alive. He was so damn low, and Tally does his last job before he falls victim. Stopwatches galore, and Ray sees red. 3 members, so critical, so low. He wants to try and find it. Yumi disengaging to pop him off with a shield, and he gets the kill in the end. They take everything. 2 inhibitors and a Nexus turret as the minions wail away. Legacy potentially looking here, Rusty, to end the game.
Yeah, they're going to end. They're going to try and force the fight to save the game.
Oh, they're just going to shut down Raze. He doesn't have anything left in the pocket for that one. He falls down eventually. Now Tapoon and Yumi trying to make the 1v3 happen. There is no healing cut. There is no dream. Babam has respawned during this entire time. Instantly comes into the fight and says, I can do this, and you cannot respond. Tien's so low, zoned away, essentially dead, and a double kill is achieved. Everything is happening in this base right now. 2-minute complete refight. Oh, take a chance to breathe and relax here.
I think that was a conveyor belt of just inting to save the game from the Chiefs. But you know what? They did. So they actually one at a time just walked in and died to buy time for the next person to respawn, walk in and die. But they do survive. And so you can't fault it, because they could have lost the game if they didn't do that. I love it.
You really do have to love it. Chiefs finding something, didn't really want to concede and fall over as a result of that one. Able to achieve a little bit of goal, but as you say, the fight went on for such a long time that people are able to respawn. Even Babbitt run from one base to another just to net himself a double kill with now the objectives respawning. That was 3 minutes ago we were talking about them looking to knock on the door. Now 30 seconds and an Ocean Soul being threatened here.
And it's crazy, that fight as well. I mean, there was an auto attack coming out of Raze. He had the flamethrower. If that auto attack hit, and it didn't because Tahm Kench ate the person, if that hit, it was almost a triple kill in one auto attack. And the one prior hit. And if that crit, which he had a Zeal and 2 crit items, so it's 70% or 75%, and it didn't crit. If that did, 3 people died in one auto attack. Like, that's how close the game was to ending. But they managed to hold, and now it's Ocean Soul point.
That they do. Keep your eyes on Raze in this backline right now. He is tanking the Dragon. He's going to fall victim and fall down. Croc does the job. And he can fall victim as well as a result of that one. It's going to be a 4v4 now. The Dragon is still being leashed. Chiefs can just walk into this one. Legacy will sacrifice and say, hey, keep an eye on your base right now. Winions are coming in. Tapuna's going to go in for the teleport. He just wants to end the game on his own. He's got GA there in mind, so he's incredibly tanky. Now it's up to Legacy just to bait them out. Stop the recalls.
It's just going to end.
Tapuna's going to end the game on his own. The minions are in the base. They are going to make this happen. Actually, he's just going to disengage away. Clear comes back in.
He chooses to hold on to the Guardian Angel. They're going to lose the Ocean Drake for this as well. That might be what he's thinking he can disengage to, but it's gone. Maybe he could end the game there. If he knew they were doing the Drake, I think he does it.
Oh no. Deliberate or not, it looked almost certain that he would have just ended the game on his own at the 30-minute mark, but he's hung on to it. And you'd imagine now, surely the players have everything available, summoners, GAs, and damage for this eventual Baron fight.
Topper just gives up on hitting those wards, by the way. He finds about 6 in one bush, walks through another control ward and says, no, I'm going over to the Baron. We'll see this fight again because it starts off early with a 1-for-1 trade. The minions are actually just winning the game if Legacy are patient. Topper dashes forwards, and so does Tally, flashing over that wall to get in. And is it necessary? Is the question that you have to ask here, because maybe they thought they were far enough ahead that it doesn't matter if they force the fights, they'll win it anyway. It's very clear that that's not the case. And so they're the ones who now do this desperate teleport, look for the end, and are matched, and they're not able.
No. They pick up the Baron. We didn't get to see that one with the replay, but that's what's happened now. And in a methodical performance, they look to take down the final structure that stands before them and an open Nexus.
And it may not be significant that they lost that fight in the end. We'll soon find out. But they'd be coming into this with an Ocean Soul and a Baron. Or just a finished game, if they were a little bit more patient. But it's game 1 of a best of 5. I don't mind taking the overly aggressive moves when they're far enough ahead to do so. And, that's what they are doing.
Tully is continuing to push out mid to assist those cannons as the bot lane starts to come in. One wave stands before it enters the base. You can see Chiefs starting to look at an opportunity to make something happen because they know what's going to happen. They're going to get overwhelmed by pressure. Chain of Corruption goes out right now. Members start to disperse away. Unable to find an angle to reach on towards Raze, who has
Nexus,
double summoners online now, Rusty.
No towers left, so Corki has to hold the Nexus itself. Their inhib just spawned, so they might be safe, Skibby, to fight another day. But the pressure hasn't stopped.
Well, it's incredibly tough right now for Chiefs to try and respond to this one. It's going to be a 1v1 in mid lane. Out comes Clear with a package to try and make it a 1v3. And instantly he finds that one-on-one. He gets the kill for free. He baits out the attention. And the fight continues on the top side as well. Gallo jumps up and he slams the ground as he slams Chiefs' chances of claiming victory in the very first game of the day. There's flares galore. It's the OPL. The game is going to be said and done just like that. 33 minutes in. Legacy are convincing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it was just a blip on the radar in that Drake fight. They still get the victory that they're after. It still looks convincing, like you mentioned. And Legacy come into this first game of the best of 5, proving that they are the powerhouse we expected them to be. And Chiefs are the ones that need to hit the drawing board for the first time in 2 days almost, as they get exposed very handily when it comes to team fighting.
Very much so. And once again, you have to go full circle back to that argument of, you're talking about a team that is very good at team fighting, one that's really good about macro. The decision-making of taking Dragons versus the Rift Heralds to really expose top lane, I don't think we ever really got to see that moment where they put somebody up top side to draw Legacy's attention there.
Yeah, it was just too hard to do, from that first Herald fight when they lost the 4-for-0 trade, basically. The game became Legacy's to control.
Well, we never saw a chance for Chiefs to get back into this one, but they have plenty more chances in this series. It is a best of 5. Legacy lead the series 1-0. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you after the break.